Have you ever just looked at the sheer volume of information out there in the world and wondered, how on earth do we actually make sense of it all? I mean, think about it. The endless flood of data during an election cycle, or even just the absolute chaos of your daily newsfeed. It's a lot, right? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute foundations of systematic inquiry. We're going to look closely at the core research methodologies that experts use to decode this incredibly complex world around us. Because, let's be honest, without a solid system to guide our curiosity, we aren't really researching. We're literally just guessing. And that brings us to a really great quote from our source material, which describes research methods as structured pathways to explore, analyze, and interpret phenomena. I want you to really think about that exact phrase for a second, structured pathways. Because without these pathways, raw information, it's just noise, it's chaos. These methodological frameworks, they're like giving us a map and a flashlight, the exact tools we need to actually navigate the unknown and uncover reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our structured journey for today. 1. Pathways to inquiry. 2. Cause, effect, and reality. 3. Investigating the past. 4. Depth versus precision. And finally, number 5, the power of integration.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Pathways to Inquiry, Framing the Unknown. Moving right along to Section 2, Cause, Effect, and Reality, Action versus Observation. So when we look at these first two methods, I want you to view them as this really fascinating contrast. It's the classic difference between actively manipulating reality to see what happens versus simply standing back and observing reality exactly as it already is. First up, we've got the experimental method. This approach focuses entirely on manipulating independent variables to observe their effects on dependent variables. Think of a clinical drug trial. The real core power of this method lies in strict, absolute control. You change one specific thing, like administering a new medication versus a placebo, and you hunt for direct causality. It is active, it's highly controlled, and it's all about finding that undeniable link between cause and effect. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it presents. The descriptive method takes a completely hands-off approach. It's all about capturing and presenting existing realities without any manipulation whatsoever. So, instead of tweaking variables in a lab, researchers are offering detailed accounts of behaviors, events, or situations exactly as they naturally occur. Just imagine a researcher meticulously observing primate behavior in the wild, right? They're documenting complex social hierarchies, but they are never, ever interfering. You aren't forcing an outcome here. You're just meticulously documenting the reality of what's already in front of you. Next up is Section 3, Investigating the Past, the Time Machine. Honestly, I like to think of this methodology as our very own academic time machine. The historical method involves investigating past records, documents, and artifacts. But, and this is key, the goal here isn't just to memorize a list of old dates. It's to deeply understand historical developments and trace long-term patterns. This method relies heavily on concrete evidence. We're talking ancient letters, shipping manifests, old tax records, stuff like that, to reconstruct the past and explain our modern reality. It directly connects historical events to our current context, proving that if we really want to understand where we are right now, we absolutely must systematically investigate where we've been. Moving to Section 4, Depth versus Precision, Meaning versus Measurement. Okay, get ready, because this is a direct head-to-head showdown between two of the most famous methodological heavyweights in the entire world of research. It's the ultimate battle of meaning versus measurement. In one corner, we have the qualitative method. Now, this approach emphasizes depth and meaning above all else. It is entirely focused on uncovering individual perspectives, lived human experiences, and complex social dynamics. Basically, it's the difference between knowing exactly how many people bought a product and knowing how that product actually made them feel. It's the rigorous pursuit of human nuance, context, and that rich why that exists just behind the raw data. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how researchers get there. They extract this deep meaning using some very specific hands-on instruments, deep dive interviews, on-the-ground observations, and textual analysis. These are the tools qualitative researchers use to engage directly with their subjects. They pull out that incredible nuance and human-centered detail that, honestly, a simple multiple-choice survey might just completely miss. But then, in the opposite corner, we've got the quantitative method. This method prioritizes measurement, numerical data, and statistical analysis. It strips away all that subjective interpretation and aims squarely for generalization, precision, and prediction. It is all about strict adherence to hard numbers and statistical rigor. If your goal is to measure the exact dimensions of a phenomenon and confidently predict future trends across a massive population, well, this is definitely the structured pathway you're going to take. So the crucial point is captured perfectly when we juxtapose these concepts directly side by side. Ultimately, the qualitative method values depth, meaning, context, and nuance. It looks at the texture of the phenomenon. The quantitative method, on the flip side, values measurement, numerical data, generalization, and precision. It measures the exact hard dimensions. They're basically two fundamentally different, yet equally vital ways of asking questions about our world.
Let's move to Section 5, the power of integration, combining lenses.
Let's see how this builds when we actually bring everything together. Integrating these unique tools gives us a complete 360-degree view of literally any subject. Just look at this breakdown. Experimental designs, they give us causality. Descriptive studies, they offer absolute clarity on what currently exists. Historical inquiry connects our past directly to our present. Qualitative research uncovers the human nuance, and quantitative analysis ensures absolute rigor and replicability. You see, no single method can do it all, but together, they cover every possible angle.
And that leads us to the ultimate goal, achieving balanced insights that perfectly marry scientific precision with interpretive depth. Our source makes it incredibly clear. Merging these structured pathways is the absolute best way to advance knowledge across all disciplines. When you combine the precise, replicable measurement of quantitative data with the rich, contextual depth of qualitative meaning, you aren't just getting data anymore. You're getting true, comprehensive understanding. That is the holy grail of research.
We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring how researchers systematically decode reality. But before we wrap up, I want to turn it over to you. Which structured pathway shapes how you process the information in your own life? Do you naturally lean towards the hard numbers and precision of quantitative thinking? Or are you someone who seeks out the context and depth of qualitative nuance? Seriously, think about your own lenses for a second. Because once you recognize the pathways you're already using, you can start to see the world a whole lot clearer. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning everything.